Talking with Tony Martin, who's going to take on Keita Nakamura at UFC Fight Night 128. That goes April 21st in Atlantic City. Thanks so much for doing this, Tony.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Before we talk about the fight and what threats you think Nakamura poses, etc., I just wanted to know, what was your reaction when you got the call for this fight, and have you followed his career? I mean, he's a guy who's been around quite a long time.
Well, actually, my head coach, Brock Larson from Minnesota, fought Nakamura in his second UFC fight.
Right.
It's I have known about him, and I've actually watched that fight because before Brock fought Keita, he actually took the fight on 2 weeks' notice and ended up cutting 35 pounds in 2 weeks. So he always talks about that fight, and so actually I've known about Keita for a while. And believe it or not, my second pro fight, Brock Larson, he ran a promotion in Minnesota called CFX, and they did a Japan versus Minnesota card. And Brock offered Keita's team the fight versus me at that time, and that would have been my second pro fight. So they obviously turned it down because it's like, there's no point in them fighting a guy that has one pro fight.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've actually known about Keita and watched film on him many years ago, and actually attempted to fight him when I was 1-0.
Yeah, that's crazy. I was going to ask you about Brock later in the interview. How is he doing? And for me, like you mentioned, he's one of your coaches. Your black belts under him, correct?
Yes, I'm a black belt under Brock Larson and Tim Barshard and Lima under the Start Jiu-Jitsu banner. And Brock's doing good. We've started actually a school together in Minnesota, and he runs that full time. It's pretty much his school. I'd say we started it together, but really all I've done is try to help out financially, and he's done everything else. So pretty much like normal Brock. He runs around wild and does a million things, but he's a great guy, a great coach. And so it's been going great.
Let's jump back to Keita. As I mentioned, he's been around for a long time. He's got, I think, like over 40 fights now. What's your breakdown of him? Where do you think you have him beat? Where do you see the biggest holes in his game?
Honestly, I truly think that technically I'm better in every single category. I mean, I think that where he's better than me is just experience. He's like you said, I think he's had 42 fights or 43 fights as a professional. So he's been in there with a lot of the top fighters as well. And so I think he's just got the experience on me but I'm starting to gain experience, obviously. And he's also had a lot more experience at 170. As you can tell, this will be my first fight back up to welterweight.
Right.
And because I started my career at welterweight, and then I moved to 55, and I've been in 55 for all my UFC fights. So this will be my first fight in the welterweight division in the UFC. So I'm really looking forward to that. But my game plan is just to be the best of me out there. I think that I've cut so much weight in the past where I haven't been able to put the best me in the cage, and I think if I fight to my ability, then I truly think I could be world champ someday.
Yeah, we see. It seems like that's a growing trend amongst fighters. Guys electing to not cut so much weight. Was that something that was in the back of your mind for a while, or is that did you kind of finally get to the point where it's like, hey, for this next fight, I'm going to do this?
Well, what happened was, I was early in my career. I felt like I was a little too small because I think I needed that advantage, the weight advantage, because my skill set wasn't quite up to par yet. I was so new to the sport. When I first entered the UFC, I had 3 years of training only with no background in martial arts at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, I need a size advantage so I can have a strength advantage. And but what it was doing was diminishing my athletic ability and diminishing my skill set, where I had to concentrate so much the whole camp on always cutting weight that I felt like everyone in the gym would just be like, you're just you're a freak, you're a killer, and they just couldn't understand why in the fight I wasn't able to put it together. And I've had a couple coaches, and one of my managers Tyson's been begging me to go to 170 for a long time now. And what happened was last night I took my last fight on 5 weeks' notice, and I was 195 pounds when I took the fight. So I had to cut 40 pounds, and honestly, it was an absolutely brutal weight cut. And I just said after that, I was like, there's just no way I'm getting back in that tub for as long as I sat in there this time. And it was more of, I could make 55, but I needed about a month or two for my body to recover after the fight from just the weight cut alone. And then I would also need 8 to 10 weeks to make weight again. So it was kind of I couldn't fight within 4 months of each other because of the weight problems that I was having. And that's kind of was the lesson I learned my last fight was I was just cutting too much weight. I think now at 170, I'm going to be able to fight a lot more often. I think that I'm going to feel a lot better. And I think right after the fight, I should be able to get right back to training.
So are you a fighter where do you feel like the wheelhouse weight class for you would be as if they had a 165?
Well, 65 would be 100% the exact weight class that I belong in. I think that that would be almost a dream come true for me. I think that, it's a pretty big gap from 55 to 70. But, I feel great here. I've moved down to American Top Team now. And obviously they have, 5 or 6 of the top 70-pounders around here. So, and obviously a lot of good 55ers. And so I've been training with all the best, and I'm really looking forward to this move to welterweight.
How's that experience been for you? And was it tough, deciding to move from Minnesota? Was the main impetus behind that move just to get more training partners, sparring partners?
Well, yeah, I moved up to Boston. I was in Boston for the last 3 years, a little over 3 years, and it was kind of the same thing, that I was running into in Minnesota, where I was just having to travel so much to train with, some of the better fighters or find the better coaches that fit my style, and so it was, they didn't have as number of athletes, but they also, you had to drive 3-4 hours a day to go train, and it was just starting to wear on me. And I just said, you know what, I trained a couple camps at American Top Team, and I knew they had the best coaches and the best training partners, and I was just like, all right, it's time to make this move, and for the betterment of my career. I mean, I probably only have 4 or 5 years left of fighting, and I think that they're very crucial. These next few years are very crucial in how my career plays out.
Yeah, you mentioned the fight with Olivier Aubin-Mercier and taking that on short notice. Split decision loss, still a really competitive fight. When you saw him do what he did to Evan Dunham, does that kind of take some of the sting away from the loss, or does it not matter for you in that respect?
No. Loss is a loss. Yeah. There's nothing that I hate more than losing, and there's just nothing more than I hate losing than feeling like I could have done more. I should have won the fight, and I feel like it was just more of more disappointment in myself for just not feeling like I was 100% in there. And it's a tough one to bite it down on, is that, I feel like, he has a win over me, but I feel like I'm definitely the better fighter. I think that I'm a definitely better athlete. And I think that if we ran that back at 170, there'd be no way it would go down the same way at all.
Jumping back to Keita, and I was curious if you've had any interactions with fans or maybe in some of the media you've done. Is there any kind of a sense of people looking past Nakamura? And what I mean by that is maybe mainstream fans or media members not really acknowledging what he's done. Because if you look at it since his return to the UFC, yeah, he's got a couple of losses, but one was against Tom Breeze, who's a beast, a very promising welterweight. The other one was to Dos Santos, who's also done quite well in the UFC. Meanwhile, he's got wins over Kyle Noak, who's a really tough vet, Jinling Li. I just want to get your sense on that. Do you find maybe some people look past Nakamura or maybe write him off as a journeyman?
Obviously, I think what happens is that you watch him fight and nothing jumps out to you that's impressive that he does. Mm-hmm. It's more what's impressive is the guy finds ways to win fights. You know what I mean? Like, he'll be, he takes damage, but sometimes he'll be like, okay, I'm not the better striker, so he makes it ugly. Or sometimes he's like, all right, I'll eat these shots just to get a takedown. And it's very, like, if you watch it, it's really actually, I don't think I believe even technically the best fighter in there. He just has found a way to win these fights by just pulling the trigger at the right times. And he's also willing to take chances of, like I said, he's willing to take punches to get inside if that's where he feels like he needs to be.
Mm-hmm.
And, a lot of fighters, they always want to win in every single aspect of the fight. And he just concentrates on winning in the specific area that he's going to try to get the victory in. And so I think that that's something that you just overlook is where you're like, oh, he's kind of, he's getting outstruck here. This guy's, he might be better grappler here. And then all of a sudden he finds a way to win it. So you're like, oh, I don't know if people are saying that he's getting lucky or exactly or what it is, but him and all the Japanese fighters, if you really watch them fight, they're all tough.
Mm-hmm.
They're not gonna lay down for you. So I know I'm coming into a hard fight. I know that he's gonna be conditioned. He's gonna come out. He's not gonna be intimidated. He's been in there, like you said, with some of the top guys. And this is his second stint in the UFC. He's never been finished in the UFC, so that says something. And he's a durable, strong, tough guy that's going to keep coming. So it's going to be my job to fight.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think no one's ever accused that guy of not having heart, that's for sure.
Right.
So let's look at, you get past Nakamura, what do you want to come out of that? Do you feel like a top 15 guy is around the corner if you get this win here?
No, obviously I'm just going to be trying to, string together as many victories this year as possible. And ideally, as I was saying earlier, that I think that with me not having to cut much weight, I'm walking around about 183 pounds. And this is what I walked around when I fought at 155. I just walked here. And this would be a good weight when I was fighting at 55. For some reason, I've had time for my body to readjust itself and actually come to my normal weight and walk around weight. So I feel phenomenal here. I think it's just going to be, I'm going to be able to get right back in there. Honestly, I just want tough fights. I want to prove myself to the fans and to the UFC that I'm a top of the league fighter. And I think that if they give me an opportunity to fight, a top 15 guy, that'd be an opportunity I'll jump on right away without any hesitation.
Yeah, right. You managed 3 fights last year in 2017. You noted that you feel like you can have quicker turnaround fights because you're not cutting so much weight. So you get this first fight out of the way. It'll be done end of April. Everything goes your way. You're healthy. How many times did you like to fight in 2018?
Honestly, I'm trying to fight, 4 times this year would be the ideal situation. Normally I would say 4 times a year is kind of that trademark, but obviously, we're already into April. So I would say if I can pull off 4 fights this year, that'd be kind of impressive in this short time. But honestly, as long as I'm healthy, I want to be trying to jump into fights. Ideally, I'd try to fight this and somehow figure out a way to slide on my Chicago card. I haven't fought in Chicago, and that's where I was born and raised until high school. I was in Chicago, so I've been trying to get there. And the last time I almost got the Chicago card, and then I ended up having neck surgery. So I'm hoping to try to fight on the Chicago card in June.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a great thing about fighting at 170 then for you, because if you get now the UFC knows you can fight at 170. If there's a short notice opportunity, someone goes down with an injury, etc., then they can call you up.
Yeah, no, I mean, at 55, that was the problem. They called me on short notice. Before the Autumn Mercer fight, they actually offered me, a day before that, they offered me a fight on 3 weeks' notice. And I was like, listen, that's just not, I'm not going to be able to make the weight. It's just not going to happen. So they called me a day later, and they're like, all right, you want to fight Autumn Mercer on 5 weeks. And really, my first phone call, so normally your first phone call when you get a fight is probably your coaches being like, hey, can we take this fight? Can we beat this guy? So my first phone call was to my dietitians because, it wasn't a fight that I didn't think I could win at all. I mean, all my coaches knew if I got in there at the full capability on that is that I could easily win that fight. But it all came down to weight. was like, okay, can Tony make the weight? And if he makes the weight, can he perform, to the best of his ability? And the answer to that was no, because the day of the fight, I didn't feel anywhere near what I was capable of.
Mm-hmm. Last question for you, and I appreciate you taking all this time on a Friday night. Main event of the card you're fighting on is Edson Barboza versus Kevin Lee. What's your take on that fight? Who do you think is going to come out of it?
It's an interesting fight. It's really a hard one to figure out. But I'm edging to Barboza, but like I've said in passing on these, and I've eaten my words on Kevin Lee a few times where I thought he was going to lose fights, and he's another guy that I feel like he finds ways to win the fights, and but I think that Barboza's been around for a while, and he's going to be looking for a big rebound after Khabib. And I know that Kevin talks a lot about fighting Khabib, but
yeah,
Khabib's a whole different animal than Kevin Lee. Mostly in the grappling wrestling department, is that there's just Khabib's at a different level than 99% of guys. So that's not even a diss to Kevin Lee or any other fighter out there. That's just facts.
Yeah.
And so Barboza's going to be able to get off his striking, and everyone's like, oh, well, Khabib kind of outstruck Barboza. He outstruck him because he pressured him 100% of the time, and then Barboza had to respect that takedown the entire time when you're pressing that kind of pace. And so we'll see what kind of game plan comes out, but it's actually going to be a fairly interesting fight with two different styles set up.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited to see it, and I'm excited to see your fight with Keita Nakamura. So thanks so much for doing this, Tony, and best of luck, not this weekend, but next weekend.
Awesome. Thank you, man. I appreciate it.